Bro, tell me, do you really think these guys are good role models for modern masculinity?
Men in charms and tits. Men don't have tits.
You motherfuckers don't stand for nothing. If I stand with fresh, I die with fresh.
Tell me why. Yapping, yelling, shaming other men simply for having a different opinion. They preach stoicism, they preach emotional regulation, yet lose their shit when someone disagrees with them or things do not go their way. Come on, bro. Do as I say, not as I do. That's what they preach, bro. And you are falling for it, man. They are making you look like an absolute fool. They're scamming you. In today's video, I want to offer you a new perspective and a new path for modern masculinity, because the current one we have is clearly broken. I'm going to walk you through traditional masculinity and current modern masculinity and explain why both of them are absolutely broken. And then I'm going to offer you my path, next gen gentleman, which I believe is the only way for masculinity to save the shit show that we call society nowadays. So why should you listen to me? Well, man, I wasn't always the confident, composed man you see right now. Actually, quite the opposite. I have quite the unique upbringing, man. I was raised by my grandma without my parents because they rejected me at birth. And my grandma had made the most horrific experiences with traditional masculinity. Why? Because her husband was abusive. I'm not going to go into details here because out of respect for her, bless grandma. But because of her bad experiences, she wanted me to be different. She wanted me to be a good man, not a bad man. But unfortunately, she only raised me through a feminine perspective, only by feminine values. So she raised me as the classic nice guy. Never stand out, always make sure everyone likes you, please everyone, and don't take any risks, man. And as a result, I became socially awkward, insecure. When I was around men, I was going into hiding. I always went into hiding. When I was around girls, I froze up. Constant fight, flight response for me. Sometimes freeze response. It took me 15 years of deep inner work to overcome the damage that my grandma had done to me. She tried her best. I don't blame her, but it messed me up when it comes to men. Now I managed to overcome the damage, and I believe I have found the ideal version of masculinity, which combines traditional as well as modern masculinity, and it takes the goods of both worlds. And I can't wait to share it with you right now. So I'm going to first explain traditional masculinity, the good, the pros and the cons, and then I'm going to explain the pros and the cons of modern masculinity, and then I'm going to present to you my version of masculinity, which I call next generation gentleman. Let me ask you this, man. How would you define traditional masculinity? Hardworking, stoic, disciplined, unbreakable, a workhorse, like a machine, right? Like a robot. And his only purpose is to provide. According to these guys, the perfect, ideal, masculine role model that everyone that you should inspire to become. On the surface, man, that might actually look great, right? Strength, endurance, power. But have you actually looked beneath the surface, bro? Because you've been sold a lie, bro. If you look beneath the surface of strength, stoicism, discipline, you see the rotten core of traditional masculinity. Because there's a lot these guys are not telling you. They're only telling you one side of the coin, which is the discipline, hard work, and provider mentality. But what they don't tell you is this. Let's go back to the 1950s when the traditional men came back from war as war heroes. They embodied the traditional masculinity, right? Hardworking, brave, stoic, disciplined, unbreakable, because they came home alive. They were tough. Yet they all had one thing in common. Have you ever been on the front line, man? I haven't, but I've watched enough movies to know I will never want to be there. I've been raised by my grandma and I've seen the damage of war. Anyone who survived World War II, especially the men from the front lines, they did one thing. They never talked about war. My grandma always said we never talked about the war. However, my grandma also freaked out when I was playing Call of Duty back in the days and she heard the bombs, the gunfire. She ran up to my room and said, turn it down, I can't take it anymore. Because she was so deeply traumatized, because she never dealt with the trauma. She never could deal with the trauma because this generation didn't have the tools that we have nowadays. So all those men, all those traditional masculine men, what they did after they came back from war, they numbed their emotions. Here's the thing with emotions. Here's the thing with feelings, man. You cannot numb them. You cannot suppress them. You can't keep them buried, man. They will always come to the surface one way or another, whether you like it or not. But here's what the traditional men used to do who came back from war. They woke up haunted by nightmares because the subconscious tried to process their trauma. They pushed it aside. They woke up and went to work. Worked like a fucking machine at work, came home, and guess what? Had a drink. Had a few more drinks. And then They snapped. One small thing set them up, and then boom, they exploded. Guess who was on the receiving end from that explosion? All that emotions that were buried and pushed deep down that suddenly, boom, came to the surface. The family, their children, their wives. And they unleashed all their anger, all their trauma onto their families with a belt, their fist, their voice. Now, let me ask you this, man. Is that the man that you want to become? Is that inspirational? I don't think so, bro. I doubt it. The thing is, bro, these men who came back from war, these men raised our fathers, and that wasn't pretty. My dad's dad was abusive and alcoholic. My mom's dad, same thing. My grandma's dad, same thing. There is a pattern here, man. These men were unbreakable, but they also lacked one thing: zero emotions. Or at least they didn't show them. I don't have a great relationship with my dad. It is there right now, but it is very cold. There's no emotional depth to it. Do you want to become that man like your dad? Don't you want an emotional connection with a woman or your future children, bro? I'm coaching so many men who have really traumatic relationships with their parents, especially with their dad, because the dad is simply a provider, nothing more. And I do reject the old idea of masculinity, man. The notion that a man's worth comes only from how much he provides. The model of sacrifice, disconnected from the heart, devoid of love. It's a model where you as a man do not support your woman's emotional and spiritual growth, your children's spiritual growth, and your own emotional and spiritual growth. I do reject that model categorically. It perpetuates the image of the one-dimensional man, trapped in his role, feeling helpless and insecure about his own emotions, his own image, and how he is perceived by the world. And he's numbing his pain with relentless work. He's building relationships solely based on the fact that he provides financial security to his family. Do you want to be that man that is only accepted and tolerated because you provide financial security and financial value? Do you want to be a walking ATM only? Or do you want to become something more, something deeper? So, my man, what's the antidote to that outdated model of masculinity? What's the new path we should be walking on? Let me show you modern masculinity, which I believe has pros as well as a lot of cons. Let me present to you modern masculinity. We went from one extreme to another: hyper feminine men. We went from hyper masculine to hyper feminine men. And that is a result of feminism, amongst other things, because feminism promoted women joining the workforce. While this is actually great because I believe every woman has the right to financial independence, it also comes at an expense of her feminine energy, because the workforce is fucking masculine. It requires a lot of masculine energy. I've worked in finance. I've worked in the tech startup scene. I've dated a lot of women who are high quality women and high achievers, ambitious women who worked in investment banking, management consulting. They all come with a lot of masculine energy. It requires a lot of inner work for me as a man to step really into my masculine energy, to support them and empower them back into their feminine energy. And a lot of those women are complaining about the hyper feminine men nowadays. But that's a different story. How do I know that men who are in their feminine energy become unhappy? Because, man, I was hyper feminine. As I said, my grandma raised me by feminine values. And on top, when my mom entered my life at the age of 15, and my mom is a radical feminist, she hated men. She couldn't admit it, but she hated them deep down because of her abusive father. So guess what she did? Anytime I displayed remote masculine traits, she suppressed them. She told me I'm a bad man, I'm a bad boy. And bro, I hated it. At some point I snapped. One day I snapped because I felt so disconnected from myself. I fucking hated my life. I was like, man, I want to be something, but I'm not allowed. I want to be this man, but I'm not allowed to be that man. Now, another reason why we have this hyper-feminization of men is because there's an entire agenda against masculinity. Take a look at this clip from Gillette. Gillette essentially, or between the lines, accuses men of being toxic for being a father and promoting healthy masculine values. That's crazy. Then we have the latest Budweiser commercial. I don't need to go into detail over here. That was a fucking shit show. Then you look at sitcoms. Friends, How I Met Your Mother. They all promote the same thing. Be a nice guy, be feminine, and women will love you. Look at school. Look at high school, university. Competition is erased. Participation is promoted. Competition is demoted. The system promotes less responsibility for men, less purpose for men, and more mental health issues for men. We as men have integrated our feelings, but we actually have calm our feelings. And guess what, man? Most men hate being this way because we are so disconnected from our masculine core. I've coached a few hundred men by now from the age of 21 to 48. And they all share one thing. We are fucking fed up with this lifestyle. We don't want to be this hyper feminine man. We're fed up. I'm sure you're fed up with the lies that we've been sold. And that it's great to be a woman and bad to be a man. I'm not saying it's not great to be a woman, but why does it have to be? Why is it like a zero-sum game? Why can it not be that it's great to be a woman and great to be a man? Why can't we work together instead of against each other? Why is it bad to be aggressive? Why is it bad to be a man? Why are suddenly all men evil? We as men have become weak. Our fathers have let this happen and we are fed up with it. And we have to break free, man. I mean, that's why Tate was so successful. Because they all revealed the truth that there is a void that all men are feeling right now and that no one's giving a fuck and no one's listening to us. The current form of modern masculinity is absolutely fucking broken. We don't want it anymore. We reject this idea. But we also don't want to go back to the broken traditional masculinity, because Tate, Fresh and Fit, Red Pill, they all promote this traditional masculinity, which I already explained to you. It's not working. It's too extreme either. You and I, we don't want to go back to that. We want something better. That's why I have developed Next Generation Gentlemen as a new path that I want to offer you for masculinity and manhood that combines the best of both worlds, because both the feminine as well as the masculine energy that we all have inside of us need to be integrated. And I believe 80-20 split is the perfect solution, which means you take the discipline, the stoicism, the power, the strength, the unbreakability of the traditional masculinity model, and also take the soft and gentle approach that hyper feminine men or the feminine energy offers. Let me explain how that would look like, because it is more complicated than it looks. Let me show you the ideal masculinity role model, which I call Hercules, the ultimate man, the 1% man. He combines the best of all worlds, the traditional and modern masculinity. And this is the most unique approach that you will ever see. No one out there is talking about this in the way that I do right now. I've worked on this for the last 3 years. It's a summary of my 15 years of healing journey and finding myself and finding and connecting to my authentic masculine self, bro. And it has worked tremendously well for me. It has tremendously worked well for my clients who attract extremely high quality women, and it will change your entire view on masculinity. Hercules is the ultimate man for one specific reason only. He has integrated all 4 of his masculine archetypes. You and I, every single man on this planet has 4 masculine archetypes. I call them Patrick, Noah, Don Juan, and Martin. Now, all of us have a different expression of all those 4 archetypes. Some of you might be more the Patrick rather than the Don Juan. I am way more the Noah and the Don Juan than the Patrick and the Martin. And right now you'll be like, who the fuck are these guys? Let me explain to you, bro. When you look at traditional masculinity, traditional men back in the days were stoic, unbreakable, disciplined. They were way more the Patrick, and they completely lacked the Noah, the Don Juan, and the Martin. The hyper feminine men nowadays are way more into their Noah. You might still be fucking confused. You're like, bro, I still don't know what these 4 archetypes stand for. I'm going to show you now. So those 4 archetypes, as I said, are called Patrick, Noah, Don Juan, Martin. Patrick is the warrior. That's the guy that gets shit done. Disciplined, stoic, hyper-masculine, unbreakable, a workhorse. He's the wild man. He's the caveman. Women love this guy because he is deeply connected to his wild side. He doesn't give a shit. He's indifferent. He's not constrained by rules and reliable. He creates a sense of adventure and almost a bit of safety for women, which women absolutely love. Safety and adventure are 2 main primal desires of women. Now, from Patrick, the almost complete opposite would be Noah. Noah is the guy who does yoga, who's very well connected to his emotions, his feelings, and his heart. While Patrick has a plan for life, he has a purpose, deeply connected to his purpose, he has a mission that he's following relentlessly. Noah, not so much, bro. Noah just goes with the fucking flow. I'm not saying this is bad, but if that is imbalanced with the other archetypes, it's a bit too much. But women only love him because he brings it in a sense of adventure to her world as well, because he's unpredictable. One day he says, oh, let's move there, let's move to Bali and go surfing and live there forever. And 2 weeks after they've moved to Bali, he was like, no, let's go to Costa Rica. Because I like that more. And then go to Mexico. That's Noah. Noah can't fucking plan anything with him. However, deeply connected to his heart. Then we have Don Juan, who is the witty guy, the charmer, the fuckboy. He knows exactly what to say and when to say it. He speaks womanese. He speaks emotions. His words make you feel something. He's connected to a woman's heart. He is charismatic. He's a gentleman. And he is the embodiment of love. He is obsessed with the feminine, and that is his problem. He's obsessed with love. So if you're too much in your Don Juan, that's when you hook up and just chase women. That's when it gets a bit critical. So that's why you need to balance it with Patrick. If you are only Don Juan and Noah, bro, like your life is a mess. That's why Patrick comes in. Noah and Don Juan are the archetypes of hyper-feminine modern men. Harry Styles, Nas, yada, yada, yada. Especially Noah has rejected his masculine energy. One more is left. Martin. Martin is introverted, not loud. Patrick is loud, by the way. Martin is more composed, actually a bit more shy, but because he's an introvert, he has quiet confidence. By shy, I don't mean like insecure. By shy, I mean he just takes a stand back. He observes and analyzes the situation and reads people. He reads emotions. He is an empath and is an observer and introspective. Now, in my point of view, if you integrate all those four, you are the 1% man. You're a high quality man, not high value. High value focuses on assets, cars, money, real estate, all this stuff, external. High quality means internal. I'm not saying that you should not try to make money, make as much money as possible. It actually is, in my point of view, if you integrate all those four, making money will become a natural result because you are unique. You have a unique skill set. You can work hard, but you can rest hard, you can play hard, and you can strategize hard. And once you integrate all those four archetypes, you become the ultimate man because barely any man is capable of doing this right now. And that's why I believe this ultimate man is the only solution for modern masculinity, because it helps men to actually connect to their feelings without becoming feelings. It helps men to not become hyper masculine and become this traditional abusive guy. No, it's 80% masculine, 20% feminine energy. And this is the most attractive version a man can be, because women are drawn to a man who is a soft rock, a dangerous gentleman, a gentle giant. The embodiment of that is Hercules, and I can't wait for you to become that Hercules. If you want to discover your authentic masculine self, become that Hercules that women are so drawn to, bro, or you just want to rebuild yourself as a man, click the link below. There's a book a call page, no pressure call. We'll just have a chat, a coffee chat, and we'll figure out if I can help you, man. Smash the day, bro. Love and peace.